Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on this Saturday over here in Seattle, Washington. It's noon, it's lunchtime, and it's rainy and windy, and probably every stereotype people think of Seattle when it's mentioned. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts, and again, hopefully you're having a good start to your new year. Obviously, there's a lot of struggles and things that are carrying over from the last year, which is no surprise to anyone, but we're going to keep moving forward. And I'm just very happy to be doing virtual interviews. And this is the first one of 2021. And so a year ago, can't even, let me do this real quick. I don't know what I was doing a year ago on January 2nd, but I know I wasn't doing this. And so I'm going to be taking and scheduling virtual interviews as I can. As I kind of mentioned on social media, my schedule is going to be changing in terms of my responsibilities. So there will still be times when I'm free and available. It just kind of depends on guest schedules. If it was completely 7 days a week where it was open, then great. Then I can schedule people, anywhere I want to. Happy New Year to you too, Bessie. Hopefully things are good over there in Greece. Well, I guess tonight it's evening over there. And thank you so much for tuning in for a bit. And so, yeah, it's been, again, this is number one of this year. It's number 106 of the virtual interviews overall. And again, I just plan on scheduling them where I can because I love doing them. I love hearing different points of view. I always try to create a safe space for guests to express those views and hopefully have an interesting discussion about various things. So moving into 2021, I'm going to just kind of do what I feel I have an interest in doing, which has been the case in 2020 as well, but it's also going to be, I think, going to expand a bit. So, and I think even today's guest is a good example of that. I'm really big on trying to find people that directly do something. So if you're a professor of education and I want to learn more about that, I want to talk to you. I don't necessarily want to talk to the journalist that wrote a piece about you. If you're a doctor on the front lines right now during the pandemic lockdown, I want to talk to you and kind of hear what you have to say about your particular experience of where you've been. We know those experiences are different all around the world, but it's always good to kind of hear things from the source. So that's kind of some of the driving intention of what I have going on this coming year. At least that's the plan, and we'll kind of see how things go. So here we go. I guess I should mention coming up that a week from today is the next live stream that I know is confirmed. There might be something that happens in between for all I know, but next Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Fun Table sessions are coming back, and that'll be number 1 of 2021, and it'll be number 20 overall. And so they'll be starting to promote that on social media real soon. But let's get to virtual interview number 1. Hi, we got both people over from Greece. That's awesome that you're tuning in through YouTube, I see. Thank you so much for checking things out. My guest today is someone I came to know through the Seattle Storm, which is the WNBA, Professional Women's Basketball League, for those that aren't familiar. I've been was a season ticket holder for many, many years. Hi, Industrial Girl. You're not too late. I just was being a bag of hot air, like always with my introduction. She is a medical doctor in France and has been working throughout this pandemic lockdown. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, Dr. Elodie Gintz.
Hi. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. And thank you so much for taking the time, Elodie. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm just kind of looking through the comments here. So we have some people there checking things out. And so let's kind of get into some things from the background here in terms of, so where are you in France?
I live in Strasbourg. It's in the northeast, close to Germany. Actually, really on the German border. Oh. Like you can walk to Germany, basically. You're just taking a bridge.
Okay. And I know that you work as an emergency room physician. Can you kind of actually bring me the background, and then we'll come on and talk about the current. So, like, how did you get into medicine?
Well, I think I've always wanted to do that, So it just came naturally to me. Yeah, kind of watch ER at the TV, you know, when I was a teenager. So kind
Okay.
of, yeah.
Uh,
I've
do-
always been in biology.
okay. And do you have any doctors in your family or anything like that?
No, not at all, actually. That's kind of funny.
Oh, oh,
I'm the first
okay.
one and only one.
So when you were studying to become a doctor, like how many years were you in school?
Sorry?
When you were studying to become a doctor, how many years were you in school?
Oh, it's like 9 years, 9 to 11 years to become an ER physician.
Wow. Okay. And is it like how it is here in America, where you have to do a residency for like a year or so?
Yeah, it's basically the same. You've got like 6 years. It's the same for all medical students, and then you like choose whether you want to be a GP, a surgeon, and then the number of years depends on your specialty. Like GP is like 6 years. If you want to be a surgeon, it can be up to 5 to 7 years. You know.
Okay. All right. And
So after 6 years, you basically spend all your days in hospital. You know, it's like a job, man.
wow. Okay. And so when you were doing this, have you always been an ER physician, or was there anything else, another branch of medicine you were looking at?
Well, first I started as GP and then specialized into emergency medicine.
Okay. And so how long have you been an ER physician?
10 years now. It's going to be my 10 years this year.
Wow. 10 years. You must have seen all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
I like I mentioned to you pre-show and offline that Steve Kafalis of Alice is also an ER physician in LA, and I asked him the question about, can he think of one story, even though there's many, that he could tell me about his time being an ER physician. He talked about when he was in residency of there was like I don't know if they were criminals or somebody was being treated upstairs on another floor, and they got loose, so they're like running.
Oh.
And then the authorities were running after them, and like all the ceiling tiles were dropping down on his floor. And I'm like, oh my gosh! And then you start talking about every orifice and all this. I was like, okay, I don't know if I need to hear all that, but so it's let's kind of talk about at least the modern, up to date stuff. So when the pandemic and lockdown happened in France, what were things like then at the beginning of it to where they are at now in terms of your job and what you had to do to treat people?
Yeah, well, we've been hit pretty badly in the Northeast. At first, we were like the first one of the first big clusters in France. So it really happened quickly, and we had like no idea of what was happening actually. Well, we've seen how the Chinese people worked and everything, but it's always like you have to see it to trust it. I don't know if you know what I mean, but so we were like, yeah, it was pretty wild the first week. And then just like, the time to get adjusted to, have more ICU beds and stuff. And so, but now it's like a basic routine, it's kind of weird to say that, but we're getting used to it, and which is kind of bad, but I mean, not bad, but a little bit sad,
Right. No, it makes sense, yeah, because it's gone on for so many months that
yeah,
it starts becoming a part of your routine when you go.
Exactly.
The extra steps you have to go through, I would assume. I'm even like looking at this picture of you, when you're all geared up,
yeah,
or if you look like you're going on an Arctic expedition or something. And even like when I've had to go into a doctor's office recently, depending on what your symptoms are, if you're there for like a broken bone versus having COVID symptoms, they put you in different parts of the building.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and everything's.
That was the hard part at the beginning, actually, because some people don't have any symptoms, but they still have COVID. So when someone is coming to the ER, you have like to separate them, but you don't really know because you can have no symptoms. So sometimes it's tricky, Right. But basically, like everybody, I mean, if someone has fever, cough, or difficulty breathing, they're going through the COVID unit, or the other are going the other way. But it's triage, but it's sometimes hard to do. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think that's probably been one of the trickiest things about this is, yeah, that you can be asymptomatic.
Mm,
And if it was, unfortunately, if it was the other way, where it would be like if you got it, you're either on death's door or dead, then it would actually be really clear for people about
mhm,
what's going on. But because there's all this other stuff where you could be walking around feeling fine and don't realize you have
yeah.
it, and then you give it to somebody else whose immune system can't deal with it,
Mhm.
it's created all this, as we know, all over the world, all kinds of different opinions and beliefs and conspiracy theories and all kinds of stuff. Um, and I'm, just as speaking for yourself, not for the medical profession, what do you think about that kind of stuff when you've been dealing with this day after day for months on end? When someone says, "Well, I think it's a hoax," or "I don't think it's real," or anything like that.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. But you're trying to convince people, but sometimes they're just, stuck in their ideas and you can't do anything. But yeah, it's really hard to sometimes, try to talk to people and explain them when they're just stuck in their idea. We had like this kind of crazy doctor in France at the beginning, who was in the south of France, who was like dealing with all kind of weird treatment which were not proven. So and basically, I think the media did a really bad job because they kept putting him on TV, So everyone was like seeing him and starting to believe him, and so it was wild.
That's interesting, and yeah, and you mentioned an interesting point too about the media in general, about
Mm.
what their agenda is and what they choose to report. And I've told this. So I used to be a teacher a long time ago, and one of the assignments my students had to do is they would go watch the three major networks, which is ABC, CBS, and NBC, at 5 o'clock when the 5 o'clock news would be, and then say report the top three stories of each channel, like just kind of flip through them and see what they're talking about, and you'd find out that unless it was something major like 9/11 or something, they never had the same stories. for,
Yeah.
so it kind of tells like, well, wait a minute, if this is news to you, why isn't it news to you or you?
Mhm.
And those would be the discussion points we would start having in class because they just don't think about it that way.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of
But
people.
what's been wild, I think it's like it's COVID all the time when you're like watching the news. I don't know how it's in the US, but well, you got the presidential, so it was like you got something else to talk about. But in France, I think every time you like switch on the TV, it was like talking about COVID, and I think it's like people got depressed and like because a lot of people got stuck in their home, and had like nothing to do and just like watching the news, and it was just so frustrating for everybody, I think.
Yeah,
Because
no.
I had like I told you before, I went to work every day. I mean, not every day, but I kept like my basic schedule. So for me, it was different, but my I still had my routine, Whereas a lot of people they were just like left alone in their home and with their kids sometimes, like because it was wild at the first lockdown. I mean, it was just, the economic stopped, everything stopped, So it's just you were like, okay, now you're stuck home and just deal with yourself. And I think it must have been pretty hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, I know. I know for myself personally,
Mhm.
and I kind of mentioned to this pre-show that when it first happened, it was just kind of it was kind of surreal because
Yeah.
as soon as I started hearing that the schools were closing, that's when I knew it was getting serious because
Mhm.
that never happens when you talk when colleges close and all the public schools are closing and private schools are closing and all the students have to learn virtually, and that obviously, yeah, like you were saying, if you're a parent like you are, then you have to deal with them. So what's my kid going to do and how am I going to work? Am I going to
Mhm.
work? Am I not? If you're essential, then you are going to work like yourself. If
Mhm.
not, then if you're lucky, you could work remotely at home if you didn't lose your job. So then there's all these other stresses start coming up through the surface. And then, of course, we had all the social movement here in the late spring,
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter. So it's like, that that year, as everyone's talking
Yeah,
about,
it was crazy.
it's the craziest year, like a perfect storm in some ways. And now we're kind of, at least, I think if something, hits us, that has nothing to do with COVID this year. God forbid that happens, like if there's a technology issue or something worldwide. But I think people will at least kind of know how to deal with it a little bit better because they've had to deal with this whole thing for 9-10 months. But you're right. I think there's been a lot more tolls on mental health. There's a lot more. Everything's just gone up. So if it was something that vices that people have, they're trying to find a way to feel good about things. And so if maybe they're drinking a little bit more, or if they do other things, and it's like you can't really fault them because it's like you haven't been in this situation for the most part. Depending on how old you are. So it's kind of seeing. Yeah, and even like for one question I want to bring up because it's kind of something that will be related to myself. So some of the jobs that I've done and will be doing, I will be around people. It's not going to be remote. I was trying to find something remote, but that didn't really happen. So for yourself, going in, like you're saying, keeping your schedule as an ER physician, how have you maintained your own sense of balance and that mental capacity, knowing that you're working with patient after patient that could have COVID?
Yeah, well, I mean, first, we got like, a mask and everything. Well, we got the protection and stuff, so that was okay. At first, I was a little bit scary, so like I took my shower at work and stuff like that, so I could come back home clean. But at the start, I had like some colleague, who kind of moved out from the house, so they wouldn't see their children. So there was like no risk to give them COVID if they got sick. Well, I got sick, and I think in March. My wife too, but we just had like minor symptoms, so it was good. I mean, good in a way, but still not so bad. But yeah, it was kind of scary. I mean, scary. Like you can. It's always in your mind, especially at the beginning. Now it's getting more like a routine, so it's kind of different. But yeah, for mental health, I'm into sport a little bit, so yeah, I kept like running and stuff and boxing in my basement. So, yeah, and doing stuff like that, to get my nerves when I needed it. But yeah.
Oh, that's really good. I didn't know that you were. It makes sense because doing something physical, especially like it's boxing, you're getting that release.
Yeah.
So any stress that's built up in you, you're like taking it out on either the bag or whatever you're trying to hit.
Yeah, it's the
bag. Yeah, no, that's cool. And so, are things over there where in France, are you getting the vaccines, plural, starting to be released over there?
Yeah, it's starting, but it's really, really slow. I mean, when you're checking, it's funny on Twitter, they're like making fun of France because we're really slow. Like we have like 30 people vaccinated, whereas in, Israel is kind of really good. They have like, I don't know, 500,000 or something, like people vaccinated already. And in France, it's really, really slow. So they're starting to vaccine like the elderly people, in nursing home and stuff. But at first they said like, the healthcare worker weren't the first to get vaccinated, which is kind of dumb because we're like dealing with the virus every day. So if all the doctors and nurses and everybody like getting infected, we're gonna like treat the other patients. It's kind of weird. So now they are starting to vaccine the oldest doctor and nurses. Like if you're over 50, you can get vaccinated. I'm too young now, so I gotta wait. But I guess it's gonna be pretty soon.
Okay. Yeah, that makes no sense. Yeah,
it's weird. It's weird because we were like, okay, so if like all the nurses and doctors get COVID, who's gonna take care of the patients?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why over here, even though we're rolling things out slower than they wanted to, they kind of knew. Yeah, the first responders need to get it. Anyone who's hands-on dealing with this, if we lose those people, just like you said, then who's going to take care of them?
Yeah.
So, and then I know like the workers, the place that I was previously working, they're supposed to be getting the option to get the vaccine next week. Actually, this coming, but that's because it's with seniors and long-term healthcare kind of places. But and I see a question came in about besides boxing, what's helped relieve stress for you?
Me, running. Well, I used to run a lot. I used to compete and everything, but then I got a child, so my free time declined. But yeah, so I basically I'm still running like 3 times a week, but not like, training and stuff. So I
Okay.
kind of like this, take some minds of things, and yeah, boxing a lot, and yeah, basically that's all. I'm working quite a bit, and yeah, when you have a kid, I mean, taking care of my daughter is also a good way to think about something else.
Sure.
It was really weird because she's like almost 2, so for her it's kind of she has no idea. But one day she like picked up a mask and put it on her mouth, and I was like, wow, that's weird. 2 years and you're putting your mask on yourself. It's crazy. I was like, wow.
Yeah, no, I can imagine what that was like, seeing your 2-year-old daughter, put on a mask. And even for anybody, a year, last year at this time in 2020, what were you doing in January?
Yeah.
2nd, you probably weren't thinking about a mask or who you were around, and it doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. You just weren't thinking about that at all.
Yeah.
I know for me, I was thinking about like, when's the next show, and when do I need to be
exactly.
there, and is my camera ready, and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah. Or planning your next vacation and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what am I going to do on my birthday? I'm going to be
exactly.
And then it just became, all that shit went out the window.
Yeah, so true.
That's crazy.
And I was talking one day with a friend, like we've got like the weirdest job now. Like they've got like these guys, who are like doing PCR test in the cars of people. So it's like a driving, and you can get your PCR test. And we were like, okay, if someone had told me like I would do this as a job last year, I mean, I would have never believed you. I was like, that's the weirdest job ever.
Yeah, we have that kind of thing around here in Seattle, where they'll do a free COVID test, like at a high school parking lot.
Yeah.
Any place that's got space, basically, and there'll be cars lined up for hours.
Yeah.
And it's just like, at least the options there now, because I think back, like March and April, it was like you had to be high risk and having all of those symptoms. Yeah. They would even, because there weren't any tests to give to the people around here. So even if you had like moderate symptoms, they were just like, well, as long as you can still breathe and it's not getting too bad.
It was basically the same in France.
Yeah.
Like if you had like minor symptoms, it was just like stay home for 10 days and like don't see anybody else. And
yeah, and they had all kinds of things, like, so if you had moderate symptoms and you stay home, but if they start to get worse, then you had to call your provider, and then they would figure out some sort of protocol of how to treat you, because they didn't know at that point, like, what do
that's true.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we learned a lot from the first cases. I mean,
yeah, it's weird to talk about that, because it feels like that was 2 or 3 years ago.
yeah, that's what we were talking about. Like time flew, and sometimes it went really, really slow. It was like, day after day, and then suddenly it was Christmas.
Yeah, I remember saying in the summer during one of my interviews that, is anybody ready for virtual Halloween or virtual Christmas? And back then it was like, God, it seemed like it was so far away. And then, boom, there they are. There's the next one. And, I guess the next, major holiday here would be Valentine's Day in February or what have you. Even that would be like, again, my birthday is in June. It's going to be here. Before
so
I know it. Yeah, just because this is hopefully a year of transition to the better. And as we start getting towards, summer and more widespread vaccination and all those kind of things that I believe in, that we start seeing some kind of shift towards things that people used to like to do or what have you. And then you can start making your own decision. Like for me, going to live events, even if they come back at 50% capacity, I still have to make a decision about whether I should be there anyway. Someone who maybe is younger and healthy and has no other, immune issues, maybe they can kind of, go back and be the first wave of fans back. But in my case, I have to start thinking about that. Is this really worth the risk? As much as I want to be there, it's like maybe I have to be off in the corner somewhere away from people, or if there's a photo pit, then I can try to be there and do my job and then get out, and I might have to leave the venue. I don't know yet. Hopefully we can get there at some point. But kind of to shift a little bit, a lot of people out there that are watching this know that I'm a sports person. And that's how you and I actually connected through Sue Bird and the Seattle Storm. You mentioned you're a runner and that you box. Do you have a basketball background?
Yeah, I played a little bit when I was young. Yeah, I did, but not so long.
Okay.
The girl was like 15 kilometers from where I live, so my dad had to drive me and stuff. And yeah, I played for like 2 or 3 years, and then I played tennis. I did a whole bunch of sports, and then I stopped. I played the violin for a long time, and I got back to sports. Like 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more. But so I went back to like running, track and fields.
Okay. We're going to come back to that violin piece, but since I'm a music guy, what drew you to Sue Bird's style of play?
I like the way she stands on the court, and yeah, she has such a long career, so it's kind of nice to see how she shifted the way she played. I mean, from like when you see her play in like 2010 from like this season, it's really different, and it's and the way she carries herself on the court and off the court too.
Yeah, I think I agree with all of that. She, to me, she's always been a winner all the way back to high school. I mean, it's incredible that from high school, college, WNBA, international, Olympic, everything, she's been a winner at every.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
There's no other level for her to conquer. She's conquered all of it,
and she keeps doing it.
Yeah, and I'll be completely honest. I mean, it must have been maybe 2 seasons ago, or maybe even 3. I was kind of thinking, Sue's coming back.
Yeah.
When are we going to hear about the retirement kind of a thing from her? But she keeps playing, and she's found a way to pivot and still have play at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, when you see her stats from this season, it's wild.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be nice when I can actually see, because I saw a game in 2019, and then obviously I didn't see anything this year. And so maybe, probably won't. I actually don't know what they're going to do, because their season is always that May to September.
Yes, spring and summer.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll go back to the bubble again, like what they did this year.
I don't know, because the NBA is not in a bubble right now, so I don't know. Maybe they'll do the same thing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And same thing like with the NFL football here. They're been taking their chances basically, and there's been some outbreaks on some teams, and they do all those steps. I think they're really concerned about the playoffs and the Super Bowl, because it's a big money thing. And so if their star quarterback comes down and tests positive and they can't play, then it's not what it is. But I just remember back in early summer when sports started to come back on any level, for me to be able to watch it on TV or something, I was like, oh yes.
Yes.
It was so nice just to have that, and it really did make me appreciate a lot of the things that I could.
Actually, it was a good way to keep on, during the pandemics, because I watched games, from the WNBA season, where the schedule was crazy, because it was like from 3 a.m. for me. So usually I woke up at night to see the Storm play. So when I could.
Yeah, see, and that's something I've gotten, not used to, but I've learned about during doing all of these interviews, talking with people, from around the world. It's like the whole time zone thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Even like setting this one up, it's like, okay, well, it's a weekend, so I can kind of do any time. What kind of time can you do? And I've been up at 5 a.m. sometimes getting ready for an interview. I had a guest that got up at, actually 2 guests that got up at 3 a.m. their time And I felt bad, but they kept saying, "Oh no, Mark, it's not a problem. I'll just sleep, and then I'll set my alarm for 2:30 and
Yeah.
get up and get myself ready, and we'll do it, and I'll go back to sleep." And I was like, "Well, I really appreciate you, taking that kind of time." But in one person's case, he's like, "I'm not doing anything."
Yeah, it's like for a lot of people, they were
Yeah,
kind of free.
it wasn't like you're talking about where you have a schedule of work and kind of things. He's like, "Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah, normally I would be doing things, but I'm not." But so let's kind of segue back to you. You mentioned that you played violin for a number of years, and so do you do any kind of music now just for fun?
No, I kind of stopped. It's a shame. I still have my violin, but I don't play anymore. I should start playing again. I mean, give it a try, but it would be awful. I know. So I kind of, I'm a bit scared of because it's a dreadful instrument. I don't know what kind of instrument you play, but the violin is really hard. I mean, when you're learning, and it takes a long time, to manage to play something nice, and so
Yeah,
yeah, it's hard for the parents. When you gotta listen to your kid like all day.
yeah. No, I don't play violin, but I play guitar and bass,
Mhm.
drums, little keyboards, that kind of thing, saxophone. But I know exactly what you're talking about because some instruments you can kind of do something that sounds okay pretty early on,
Yeah,
but some instruments like the violin are very unforgiving. And yeah, you're right. The
really hard.
parents that have to listen to that screech.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's got to be. That's when you need like headphones.
Yeah, like close the door, please. And
Yeah, go downstairs.
yes, yeah, and can you do that when I'm like going to the store or something?
Yeah, exactly. But just out of curiosity, since this is eclectic arts and that kind of thing, what kind of music do you like to listen to? Are there other arts that you like pre-pandemic that you would like go see live events of any kind?
What kind of music do I listen? It's really, really. I got a lot of different style. It's really depending on on the year. This year was weird. Was really weird. I started to listen to old hip hop stuff,
Oh,
like Jay-Z and stuff. I was like, okay, I also like, rock and folk music, Fleetwood Mac. I
mhm.
really like this. All kind of stuff. I like classical music too. So it's really, I mean, I'm really eclectic if I can put it this way.
Okay. And are you someone again pre-pandemic and lockdown? Did you or were you into ever like going to the theater or musicals or ballet?
Yeah, a bit, a bit. When I had time. So yeah, but yeah, wait. I mean, the movie theater. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, at least here in America, I don't know how it is over there. The movie theater industry, it's basically like two, maybe three big chains here in the U.S.
Mhm.
And one of them for sure was already having big financial issues before this ever happened. And so when it happened, uh,
Mhm.
because there's so many things you can have access to now at home, with your big screen and streaming things, and you don't have somebody, that theater experience,
Mhm.
at least for me personally, I love going to the theater for certain films, but
Yeah.
overall, it's like, well, I don't need to see that in the theater. I'll just see it at home or wait till it's available to
Mhm.
stream or whatever. Um, are theaters still popular? Well, again, pre-pandemic, or were they still popular there in France to go see a movie?
Yeah, there were, and I think it's a shame because I don't see, if you're like masked in the theater, and if they have like social distancing in the theater, I think it would be okay to go. It's not so, I mean, so dangerous. That's my personal opinion, But like people are taking, the subway and stuff, are like, all snugged against the others.
Mm.
So I actually we went to a concert in this summer
Oh,
before the two lockdowns. They planned some concert, and then it was everything closed again. So that was the last show I saw.
I don't even know. I'm trying to think around here in the summer between the restrictions getting it,
Mhm.
and I don't know if we had. Well, no, there wasn't anything concert wise, other than like really small, like maybe at a winery kind of thing.
Mhm.
And even those, I don't think were in Seattle proper. They're like down south, closer to like Portland, Oregon, and that kind of thing. And then those didn't last very long, because I kept thinking, yeah, it's summertime, when the weather's nice, they could probably still do something at a park where you can spread away, have your blanket or whatever you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're outside, it's fine, I think.
Yeah, and I don't think we ever, to my knowledge, I don't think, at least here in Seattle, I don't think we ever got there. But again, hopefully, this coming summer or early, we can start doing that again.
I think the NBA season is kind of like a test, like check if how things are going and stuff. And
yeah, and I don't even know. Are things going okay with the start of the season? Have they had any COVID stuff? I don't even know.
They have a COVID issue. I think like one day a team had not enough player, to play, because like they had like to have 8 players available, and some were tested positive and couldn't play. So well, we'll see. I mean, you have to give it a try.
Yeah, it's that's true, because I know like on the collegiate side, there's been so like with the football season here in the Seattle area, the Pac-12, they weren't going to have a season. Then they had a really short season, and then because at least with the UW Huskies, they didn't have enough players to play like in the whatever the conference game that would put them into like a bowl game and all that kind of stuff. And then I don't even know like how the basketball teams are dealing on the collegiate level. I don't know how they're, but it's gonna be a lot of pivoting, and kind of seeing how things go, and if they're manageable. What do we learn from this? So that other teams. So like over here, if the NBA does fairly well, then
I think
then baseball normally starts in April. So then maybe they can actually do their season, and then you can have everything else.
Yeah, more baseball is outside, so I guess it's
true. That should be a help.
Because like indoor sports like basketball, or in France handball is really popular. All these indoor sports where you keep touching the ball and everything. I guess it's easier to get contaminated. Whereas if you're outside, it's less tricky, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. And just thinking about something too that.
Tennis is a good sport for COVID, because you're like pretty far away and you don't touch the other person. So
that's true. You're just hitting that ball across the court.
Yeah.
You're not having like it's not like a contact sport. Yeah, where you're like basketball or football or hockey, or where you're like you're gonna get near people there.
Yeah.
But with your profession as an ER physician, and I mentioned this earlier in the interview, what are some what kind of memories come to mind if it's something kind of funny, something kind of crazy that you've experienced in the 10 years of being an ER doctor? There must have been a lot.
Yeah, a lot of crazy moments. I don't know. I've got some odd moments too, sometimes. Like tragic car accidents and stuff like this. But I had the chance to put baby to the world, so that was nice.
Okay.
And sometimes it's weird because I sometimes you witness some like tragedies, kids dying and stuff like that. And I had a time where I had a hard time dealing with a child death, and like a week later, I gave birth to, I helped a woman give birth to a baby. And so it was like, you lose a life and then someone's coming back. And so it was kind of your circle of life. But sometimes you see like some crazy stuff too. So.
That I guess that like you said, the circle of life, or that balance. Well, I can't imagine doing what you do. I've got such a respect for any of the doctors and nurses and medical assistants that are dealing with this. But like you're saying, just in general, if you have something that's not COVID related, there's a car accident and if someone gets rushed to see you, or if there's some other kind of gnarly thing that that's going on with a patient, that's part of what you do. It's part of your job. But it's just like, man, like I was telling you pre-show, I couldn't deal with that small element that I had. So it's like, I got to find something else to be around. That's nothing even close to what you see on a day-to-day basis. So again, much respect to you for what you do. You must, I shouldn't say that. Do you see yourself retiring as a doctor?
No, not really. Well, a doctor, no, maybe an ER doctor, but I don't know. I mean, it's kind of tiring, we're working like sometimes 24-hour shifts and working the weekends or so. It's kind of, taxing. I mean, sure. When I was 20, I was like, okay, it's easy, and then you're getting older and it's like, wow, it's not as easy as before. But yeah, so I don't know. But I actually will sometimes talking about this with my colleague, and I'm like, what else could I do? Because I know I couldn't be a GP. I mean, I need the adrenaline and the uncertainty and whatever is. I mean, it's driving me. Mm-hmm. But so, I mean, like, seeing the same patient like every day and dealing with the same. I mean, I guess it's for some people, but not for me, Mm-hmm. So I don't know. So sometimes I'm like, okay, what else could I do? And I'm like, I actually have also a degree in sports medicine. Oh. So like I could be a team doctor and stuff, mm-hmm. But I don't know.
Oh, that's awesome. So that means at least you do have an option, like if you
in case I want to.
Yeah, and fix sports injuries. And I mean, I haven't fractured my foot during a track meet.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
I fractured my foot like 3 times, I think. Well, it was a stress fracture, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and mine was a stress fracture, and it actually happened during a race.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically enough, I can't remember if I told the story or not to people, but I was not a very good runner, and so when I was doing the best I could, I got the sharp pain in my foot during the race. I was running the 800, which is just 2 laps, and I placed 4th, which was actually the best I ever placed. That was with a stress fracture in my foot. And so I was like, wow, is that what it takes? I have to actually do something crazy to actually do well. Because I also remember when I was done, I couldn't put any pressure on it.
And I broke mine. I remember I was like doing some long jump, and on the reception, I was like this sharp pain, and I came back home and I was okay, it's gonna be fine, because when you're warm, sometimes you don't really feel the pain.
Right.
And I had to work the next morning, and my first step, I was like, okay, no, it's not good. So I drove to the ER where I was working, and I took an X-ray, and it was broken. I was like, okay, so now I have to go back home. But yeah, it was just the next day after it was like the regional cross country championship or something like that. I broke my foot. I was like so bummed, but yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, at least you were doing.
And something. So you went track?
I did a long time ago, mm-hmm. And I was not fast, so I was on the distance team.
Me too.
I used to run 10Ks when I was even younger with my mom. So that's what kind of put me into the track thing when I was in junior high school. Mm-hmm. And then I started playing guitar. So then
sometimes you get to choose.
Yeah. And especially, because when I fractured my foot, so obviously my season was over. And then I did something in my 9th grade year. I can't remember if I screwed up my hamstring or something. Mm-hmm. But at that point, I was such a music nerd. And just so into it.
And it's really hard getting back to the level you were. I don't know if you experienced this, but like you fracture, I mean, it takes like 6 months to get back. And then, I mean, that was my case. Then I overtrained. So I broke it back again. And I was like, it was this kind of, circle of frustration. So I kind of backed down from racing, and it was like too much stress for me.
Well, and that's what, yeah, for people that are highly competitive, and well, obviously, professional athletes,
Mhm.
they have an injury, and sometimes they've had many over their career.
Yeah.
They have to do so much to get back, and then, like you're saying,
Mhm.
there's that fine line
Mhm.
between.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I wasn't really good, but I have like a competitive mindset, and I really like the discipline of training. So yeah, like when I couldn't, walk and put pressure on my foot, I was like doing this kind of running in the swimming pool, you know.
Mhm.
So it's like it's the boringest thing ever. I mean, you're like 1 hour in the swimming pool doing this, and everybody's staring at you like you're crazy, which I probably was, but
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's at least during this time, like you mentioned, with your boxing and running, it's a great stress reliever for
Mhm.
anybody to do something physical, even just going for a walk. Um,
Yeah.
so it kind of clears your head,
Mhm.
get your body moving, and there's really no downside to it. Um, and so, I try to remind myself about the exact same thing. Um, but yeah, I probably need to do more exercise. But now I say that, I'm actually gonna get that from my jobs, or at least, well, one of them for sure. So now I'll get my exercise by being at work. And let's see, I'm having problems with. Oh, okay. Hi, Industrial Girl through YouTube. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Twitch, but so with it being a new year in 2021, and we talked about transitions, and hopefully things slowly improve, and we kind of get things looking to, I don't know, where we're just kind of feeling like we're going in the right direction. And then you just mentioned that you're not sure if you would be doing this for the rest of your life as a doctor, and you're trying to think what else could you do or would do. Um, it sounds like you were saying that you like the adrenaline of being an ER doctor, and that's why you couldn't be a GP. Do you do anything outside, like do you rock climb, or have you thought about or jumping out of an airplane or that kind of thing?
I did some. It's not a base jump, but it's oh god, I don't know in English. It's like air gliding stuff.
Okay, okay.
So that was cool. Yeah, I'd like to do some jumping, like rope jumping and stuff, base jump.
Okay, yeah, because yeah, when you mention adrenaline, it seems like people that like adrenaline rushes, they kind of like it in other places in their life too.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
yeah, there's one of my guests who is actually a guy I went to high school with. He's a CEO of a parachute jumping company in Georgia, so he's done over 6,000 jumps.
Oh, that's
And
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd
so,
like to do this too. That's for my 40th birthday, I think, or something like that.
so
But I really like to travel, but it's kind of stuck right now. Well, I was supposed to come to Seattle in May this year. I had my
right.
tickets, and because I was going to see the Storm play. They had like a week or 10 days where they played like 3 games home. So I
Mhm.
was supposed to go and see plays. But yeah, so everything kind of.
Yeah, got postponed, canceled, rescheduled.
Yeah.
That
I
that
don't. Is the new Key Arena open yet?
No, it's they have the sign up. They have quite a few things are kind of coming together there. That's what I've been following along, the Climate Pledge Arena or
Yeah.
whatever it's called now.
Yeah, it's renamed.
Um, so that tells me, or actually that tells me as a question about. So did you see the Storm play here then before?
No, I've never. No,
Oh, okay, all right,
I've only seen the national team play.
okay, all right. That's right. This is all coming back to me. Some of the conversations we've had via email about some of the things related to them. Um, and have you ever been to the U.S. in general?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 times, I think, but only in the East Coast.
Okay.
Because one of my childhood friends is from the DC area, Washington DC. So I spent quite a few summers over there.
Oh, nice.
So it
Okay.
was nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully, again, once we get past this, and if the arena's open and the Storm are back on schedule, you'll get a chance to come to
Yeah, I
see it.
hope so.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping Super won't retire before, so I'm like, that would be such a bummer.
Well, Sue, if you're watching this, keep playing and take care of your body so
Yeah.
that you can stay with the Storm for at least
Well, she
another.
said she would try to go for the 5th or 6th ring, so I'm kind of hopeful.
She definitely strikes me as somebody that, as long as her body is willing, and her mind is already there,
Yeah.
she's going to keep doing it. She'll turn into Tom Brady of the WNBA.
Yeah.
You know, just
For sure.
they can't stop until they feel like, I'm just not at that level that I need. Then they'll quietly exit or what have you. But until that day comes, and they can still do it, and that's such a rarity, because usually you have a professional athlete who should retire.
Yeah, and they keep playing, and you're
But
like, okay, you really need to go now.
So you're actually a detriment to the team.
Yeah, but she proved us like she can really play.
Yep.
I mean, this season she was in the playoff. She was really good.
Yeah,
she keeps breaking records. So I'm like, keep playing.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you, last season, when she was out and Stewie was out, what happened to the team? Yeah, they were competitive because other people stepped up, but what a difference, obviously, it made in the bubble this year, having those two stars back, and just tells you, it's like, we need you on this team, because no one is and you know this from playing basketball at one point, that point guards aren't made, they're born.
Yeah.
And some people just instinctively can play that position, and play it well, and some people can't. They need to be the shooting guard, or they need to be a forward if they're tall enough, and those kind of things. Well, that late spring into summer, for people that have not been to Seattle, it's usually really beautiful around here. It's not too hot. There's like a few exceptions to that, and people forget about like the mountains and all the water that we have here, and it's just I think that's why a lot of people have actually moved here once they had a chance to visit, and they're like, wow, there's so much going on here. And then if you go to the eastern part of Washington State, it's totally different. It looks like you're in Kansas or something, because it's flat. It's like 2 seasons. They have summer and winter over there. And I went to college over on that side, so I kind of know, and it's very very different. But it's all in the same state, so you can access all of it. And then if you go down to Portland, which is very different from Seattle, but it's very unique to itself, and that's what they always say: keep Portland weird. And go up to Canada, up to Vancouver, and then if you end up making your way all the way down to California, that's its own country down there, really, from the north to the south end of California. I see somebody was asking, are there any other sports you like to follow besides basketball?
Me?
Yeah.
Tennis. I kind of like tennis. It's totally different, but kind of, Roland Garros is really famous in France. I mean, it's in June. It's like a big tournament here. When I was a kid, I was like watching Formula One, which is kind of weird, but I kind of liked it. And I am, of course, track and field, and I really enjoy watching it too.
Okay, so that probably means that you'll be looking forward to, I would think, the Olympics in the summer.
Yeah.
The summer version. Yeah, I tend to steer myself. I watch more summer than I do winter.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the track and field things. Of course, basketball's going on.
I've seen like the European Championship. It was in Berlin like a few years ago, and we were on a weekend over there, so it was really cool. I saw the pole vault. That was impressive.
Is that where you met? One of the times where you met Sue, or is that somewhere else?
No, it was somewhere else.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I met her at the Soccer World Cup in France.
Oh, okay.
Summer, and then in Serbia in a Olympic qualification tournament.
Okay. Wow. See, I've mentioned this before, that for people that haven't traveled outside of the U.S. Or North America like myself, I've never been to any part of Europe or the UK or anything like that. I try to get a frame of reference in my head of like where these places are. Like you're on the north end of France, so like for you to get to Germany, it's like literally it's right over to it.
Even Serbia, it's like really close. It's kind of close, It's like a 1.5 hour flight, So it was not so bad,
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that would be like for me. So 1.5 hours. That would be like me going to the eastern part of Washington over like a
Yeah,
Spokane.
yeah, it's
Hour and a half.
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's definitely one thing I learned from doing all of these interviews is that I need to get out and see more,
Mhm.
even if
But
it's just
you're welcome if you come to France.
yeah. Well, that's what's awesome is that I have been able to talk with folks like yourself in France, and I've met people. There's a director in Scotland, and I have a friend in the Netherlands, and um, I'm actually trying to get that friend in the Netherlands to come on and do exactly what we're doing because she's a nurse. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I wanted to kind of hear what she had to say, and she's also a big music fan. That's how we connected
Mhm.
many years ago. And there's also people in New Zealand and Australia. So it's like, yeah, I've made some connections with people that, and vice versa. Obviously, if you come to Seattle, I would love to,
Yeah, sure.
um, meet up and have dinner, drinks, see a game, whatever kind of thing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's awesome like that.
Mm.
And, let's see, how are France's football teams this coming season?
Men's or women?
Men's or women's? Industrial Girl. See if she puts that in the chat. She's on YouTube right now. Um, oh, and she also asked if you had a favorite tennis player.
Male or female? Male, it's Roger Federer, of course.
Mm.
I mean, he's a beast. It's just, for me, it's undefeated. It's like the super of tennis,
Right, right. And
And the female, I used to be a big Steffi Graf. I don't know if you remember her.
oh yeah, yeah.
German player from
Yep.
my teenage years. So I was a big fan of her. I had posters of her on my walls.
Okay. Oh, she said for the how are France's football teams this coming season? She said either male or female.
Either.
Yeah.
But actually, I don't really know. I mean, it's been a while. I haven't seen the men play, and as a female, I have issues with Corinne Diacre. The coaches. I
Oh.
don't know. It's been really weird. I mean, some stuff are coming out about her, so I don't know. It's
Oh, okay. Huh. Interesting. Well, Dr. Gintz, it's been amazing talking with you, and this is so
nice chatting with you.
yeah,
True.
so cool that we connected in such a roundabout way. But
That's the good side of COVID. You
yes,
meet up with people.
yes, absolutely.
Sometimes to talk and.
Yeah, and again, thank you so much for doing what you do as a doctor, and so much. I hope that you and your family stay safe over there. And don't be surprised if I reach out to you again. We try to do a part 2 a little further down
No problem.
into this, and we'll kind of see where we're at in a month or 2.
Yeah, sure. Hopefully.
Yeah, everybody watching, thank you for taking the time through YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, and everything will be saved on Facebook and YouTube if you want to rewatch or share it to people and all that kind of thing. And yeah, everybody out there, hopefully you all stay safe and have a happy new year, as happy as it can be. And just keep doing what you're doing and stay the course, and just wish everybody well. So I will see everybody later. And Elodie, again, thank you so much for taking the time.
You're welcome. And thanks for bearing with my English. It's been a long time I haven't spoken, so.
You're no issues whatsoever. Very, very
Okay,
good. Yeah.
Good. Sometimes it's like slow in my mind, like I was trying to say something. I was like, okay, it's gonna come.
Oh no, it was great. All right.
Okay.
Have a good night over there.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.